What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Geekdom Gamecast, presented to you by Shinra Industries, the Shinra Corporation, actually. Sorry, all hail. It is I, your host, Mike, and as always, with me via Zoom at a safer distance, Travis Moody is here. How are you going, sir? And we have
doing it.
Yeah, how have you been?
I'm good. You?
I started working again, so it's been nice to get out of the house, actually. But it's kind of discomforting that a lot of people are out on the roads still, because I kind of liked it when traffic was really dead. But whatever.
So much for that.
There could be worse societies to live in, and we're going to talk about it. With us today, we have two great guests. One, first time on any of our podcasts or Zoom casts, too. Michelle Kisner, how are you? How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Thank you so much for joining us. You have like particular expertise in a lot of what we're going to talk about today, and just in general. You want to shout out what you're all about, who you write for, and all that stuff?
Well, I write for God Hates Geeks occasionally, haven't in a while, but and also for Spoiler Free Movie Sleuth. I write for them too.
Yeah.
Love those guys.
I mostly do movies, but for some reason, like lately, I've been on like 3 other video game podcasts. Like everybody wants me to be on video game podcasts, and I'm cool with it because they're fun to talk about too. So,
I mean, like playing this game, no spoilers, kind of felt like a blockbuster movie to me at like a lot of points. So, in a good way, since we won't be able to get into theaters anytime soon. Sorry, Christopher Nolan. I think you're being too optimistic. And also with us, he's been on a God Hates Geeks podcast before talking about video games, but this was back in 2015, I believe, when Arkham Knight came out. So coming back to join us, Dana Keel's brother. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah.
I always enjoy it.
It's been far too long. Dana, you write for God Hates Geeks. You're also somewhat of a PlayStation gamer too, when you can, right? Let's actually get into that, since you both haven't been in the podcast for a while, and like we kind of want our guests to get to know you. We figured this would be the perfect time to kind of do our podcast version of that little meme that's been going around. So what we're gonna do is I want to hear from everyone. We can start with Michelle and Dana first. I want everyone's. What was the wording of the meme again, Moody? It was like everyone's.
Don't curate. Just don't curate. That's all.
Yeah, like your top 5 growing up. Just,
yeah.
And don't try to be cool.
Well, and it's weird because none of us have really grown up. So let's just say, at least I haven't. Let's just talk about games maybe before you're 17 years old, like youth, 16 and younger. So.
That's
I know for me, it's not
so.
Xbox yet. So, yeah. So.
Oh, youth. Well, let's start with youngest then, I guess, Dana. Have you given this some thought? What would be your top? You did this already on social media.
I did it already. I'm going to try to, I think it's, I know Ocarina of Time is definitely the most important for me. And then after Ocarina of Time, I'll do Kingdom Hearts. I loved Kingdom Hearts. What else did I say? Metal Gear Solid, the first one on PlayStation. I can't remember the other 2 I said, so I'll just go back and think about the ones again. Probably Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh.
Final Fantasy VIII is actually my favorite over the rest of them.
Okay.
And then, spoiler alert. And then, it'll probably be another Zelda game, so it'd be Wind Waker.
Wind Waker. Crazy. Mm-hmm. Are you hoping for that HD remake on Switch?
I mean, that's why I have this Wind Waker tattoo on my arm. That's one of my favorite games.
Don't you also have a Triforce somewhere on that?
No, that's the only Zelda tattoo I have. So.
Is it because everyone has a Triforce?
Kind of, a little bit, and I really like the. I should, right?
Get a Triforce on your lower back.
And like through the Triforce, I get my son's name, like looping through it or something on the back. But I just really like the concept art for Wind Waker, so that's why I got that. I think that was the 3rd tattoo I ever got. So
yeah, I'm personally hoping for that Wind Waker remake on Switch, because I haven't got to play it yet, so it would be cool.
Well, they have the remaster on the Wii U. That's what I bought my Wii U for. I have the Wind Waker Edition Wii U, and that's the closest you're gonna get, most likely.
Oh, well, hopefully you're like one of the few people that got a Wii U, so hopefully they bring it to Switch also.
It's literally in my box. Whenever you want to borrow it, you can play it. So
Okay, shit.
just let me know.
I might take you up on that.
I haven't played it in years.
All right, Michelle, what about you? You also put this online, right?
I did.
What are your top fives?
My top 5 was, the first one was Dragon Warrior, like the original one, on NES, which I actually got for free when with a subscription of Nintendo Power. They just sent you Dragon Warrior for free, which was amazing.
What?
And yeah, they did. That was like a real promotion they did. That's how old I am, by the way. So I'm gonna sound old.
I'm with you.
But yeah, that was my first RPG, and I was like hooked. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. So Super Mario Brothers 3 is another one, because that was like the most hyped I'd ever been over a game in my entire life. Like, people that didn't grow up in the 80s and early 90s don't understand how much hype Super Mario Bros. 3 had. Like, everybody in the universe wanted to play it. And then it was in the Wizard.
Yeah.
And
that was the gameplay debut, wasn't it? In the Wizard?
Yeah, the Wizard is just an hour-and-a-half commercial for Super Mario Bros. 3.
That's so crazy.
Trying to think what else I had. I had Chrono Trigger, which is my all-time favorite game.
Oh yeah.
I've played Chrono Trigger probably like 50 times, honestly. I try to play it once a year. It's just I love it. Everything about it's like perfect to me. What else do I have on there? Oh, Earthbound. I really like Earthbound. And that was the game that got me into like quirky games. Because Earthbound it's like, on the surface, it doesn't seem like something you'd be into, because it's like an RPG, but it's like modern time. It's very strange, but I was enamored with that game. And I would definitely put Metal Gear Solid on there. It's kind of cutting it close because I was 17 when it came out, but that was what made me fall in love with Kojima and that kind of meta, fourth wall breaking kind of style of gameplay I'd never really seen before at that point, and it was like mind blowing. Like, especially the Psycho Mantis, when he like reads your mind, which is like your memory card. I swear to God, that was like the coolest thing that ever happened in video games, like ever to me. So
yeah, I tripped out when I saw. I was younger, and it kind of freaked me out when that happened. I was like, "What? I didn't know you could do that in video games. That's insane."
I know, and I was actually like, I didn't understand kind of how they did it at first, and then later I was like, "Oh, you had my memory card. Okay, that makes total sense."
That Kojima. People criticize Death Stranding, but like, he's been weird from the start.
Yeah. That was like pretty much one of my favorite games, that just came out pretty recently too. And it was like pretty timely as far as the subject matter goes. It was like social distancing the game.
Yep, basically, right? Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Was that 5? Yeah, that was 5, right? You had...
Oh, I think, wait.
She had like 6.
I think that was...
Really?
Oh, because I'm extra awesome.
No, I'm just, well, no argument there. I think, she had 5.
Well, okay. What about you, Moody?
It's real easy. I mean, Jake Regal 2, The World Warrior, Super Jake Regal 3, Championship Edition. For those who saw the meme, they'll get the joke. Horrible joke, but no one got it when I posted that.
I saw the meme.
No one got the fucking joke. I'm like, come on. I'm curating. All right, I'll make it easy. Number 1 is actually a Final Fantasy. It's not 7. It's weird because it's 3 and 6. It's 6 in Japan, but 3 for us.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So that was
we just call that one 6.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
least,
and now we call it 6, but when we bought it, it was 3. That's the best. That was probably the best RPG ever. But the one that opened the door was definitely Dragon Warrior. Like the thing that started Dragon Quest, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna be real cute and everything makes sense here. So number 2, Street Fighter 2. Number 3, Super Mario 3. Number 4, NHL 94. So that was just real easy. And then number 5 doesn't work that way, but Tomb Raider. So first time really on, I guess, PlayStation, right? So kind of opened the door to things. So, and then I see people putting like Xbox games on their list and they're like 40 years old, like we mentioned, but definitely Halo. I mean, I was 21, so it's not my youth, it's youthful, I guess. So I was 21 when Halo came out, but that definitely set the stage for Xbox for me for
What year
18
did Halo
years.
come
out? 2001. So
Okay, I was 11.
yeah, so I mean that set the stage for, you know, the Mass Effect and Gears, my love for Gears of War and Mass Effect, because Mass Effect was an Xbox exclusive too.
And like
that came-
multiplayer too, because you know, remember everybody used to bring their TV and their Xbox over and hook them all up and have those like LAN parties, basically.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of the beginning of like, you know, the multiplayer, bringing it from, you know, PCs to consoles. Like PC people, that was old hat, but to us, we're like, wow, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'll get into mine because was that all 5, Moody?
Yeah, it just I think about Halo is more like the co-op, being able to co-op story, which now
yeah,
of
that
course
was cool
we could,
too.
of course you could then do it in Gears and Borderlands, and it opened up the door for so many people. Halo is just that would be my number one landmark game ever, but because it's not in my youth, I wanted to just mention it. You know, it's not, you can't put it in the top 5. But yeah, your turn, Mike.
Well, I'll start off with Halo, I guess, since we're talking about it. I put that in there just because, I mean, a lot of my top 5, I just thought about like all the games I played so much. And Halo was one of them. The campaign was great, but I definitely did the whole LAN party thing, like on multiple occasions. I live in Santa Clarita and right outside of LA, so we get those brush fires a lot. And there was like a couple of years where like we got brush fires to the point where like we had to stay home from school, and everyone brought over their Xboxes and their controllers, and we all just played Halo LAN parties at my house. So Halo, and then I guess I'll go backwards. I was gonna say, well, Smash. If we're going backwards, the first Smash on Nintendo 64.
That's the one I forgot.
I played a ton of it. The N64 was like a tank, so I brought that thing to like family parties. And then we have a lot of family parties. I have a lot of cousins, and we just played Smash all the time. Going backwards from that, I was gonna say Metal Gear Solid. That was up there, but since a lot of us said that, I'll say Sonic the Hedgehog 2, because that's one of the first games I beat as a kid, and that was before you could save anything. So I literally like spent weekend after weekend like a roguelike, just trying to get all the way through that game. And now I just have like good vibes, good feelings every time I hear any of the music and stuff. And like some of those songs are some of my favorite songs of all time. And then the last 2 are just kind of define me as a nerd. SimCity 2000. It just made me love sim management games and city builders and stuff, which I still play to this day. Like City Skylines, free on Xbox right now. I love those games. Like Roller Coaster Tycoon was up there too, but it all started with SimCity 2000. I used to print out my cities like with like 30 sheets of paper, basically like kind of scaled up, and then I just post them in my room and stuff. And I thought I wanted to be a city builder when I was a kid. And then the last one we talked about last week, but or the last time we recorded, was TIE Fighter, Star Wars TIE Fighter. I played that was probably the first game that like I really got sucked into on PC. And being the nerd I am, the PC was kind of like the only friend I had. This was before I even had siblings, so like I wanted to be a pilot, then a city builder.
And you are now. You're piloting the show, and you're doing a great job. Building a community of nerds right now.
But that's not what we're talking about today. As you can see behind us, we're all in Midgar,
Especially Dana,
in different places. Dana's
I'm
inside.
in the slums.
Yeah, he's in. Yeah, what sector are you in, Dana? You're in like
Sector 5 is the nice one, so Sector 7.
Okay, well you should come out. You should come out to the bar then. You should come out to the bar then, where I am, and have a drink with me.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll be right over.
But yeah, we're talking about the Final Fantasy VII remake, and this is going to be all spoilers. We wanted to wait till everyone played the game, even in quarantine. I'm guessing some of you still had other things to do or panic about. So we wanted to give us a couple months to do.
Wait, when did it come out? Like a month ago, right? No, it hasn't been 2 months. Yeah, I would say a month.
Okay.
3 to 4 weeks. 4 weeks.
Yeah, we gave you. we give most people ample time, but if you're coming back to this, hello. Hopefully everything in the future is great. But just a warning, this is your last warning. We're going to spoil everything from the get-go. But before we do all that, I want to hear from all of you guys. What is your history? You got into a little bit, but what's your history and what's your how do you feel about the series, the franchise in general? Let's start with Michelle.
Well, I've played every one of them. I played, like I said, I'm old, so I played Final Fantasy, I think it came out, like 88, the first one, 87, 88, maybe like 89. So I've played them all. And I have, after 10, I started not liking them as much. I felt like they kind of went downhill quality-wise. They started kind of doing, I don't know, they after 7, they started expanding the universe and making, like, the whole kind of interesting thing with Final Fantasy was, like, each one was like a self-contained game, and then every one was like a different universe, a different world. Final Fantasy, like, that's kind of like the thing. And after 7 was such a big hit, they started making spin-offs, and then after 10 they had like 10-2, and then so after 10 I started kind of not liking them, and then 15 got me back in, even though that game's like a train wreck. But
hey, wait, Michelle, we co-reviewed that.
Yeah,
we both gave it 4 out of 5. I think.
Yes, but it's a train wreck. That game is
a lovable train wreck.
Yeah, no, I'm saying train wreck with love, because it had a very, the whole entire story behind it was just like all kinds of stuff was going on behind the scenes, and it's a finished game, and the characters are fantastic, and I love the battle system, but like the pacing and like the latter half of the game, it's just it feels, like there's some stuff that could have did better on it. However, it was the game that sucked me back in. Like, I was like, oh, I love Final Fantasy again. This is what was missing for me, like the characters and the story. And
me too.
So it sucked me back in. But I've played, Final Fantasy since I was like a little kid. So
Cool. What about you, Dana? You already said your favorite, right?
Yeah, 8 is my favorite as far as story and everything else like that. 7 is the first one I got exposed to. My cousins played it. I really just watched them play it. That was the first time I had seen a game come on multiple discs. So that was kind of intimidating for me at first. And I didn't, just looking at it, I figured I would never understand the battle system, stuff like that. Because I was used to like Sonic and Zelda, to where it's just, it's not turn-based. I can just go and all that other stuff. But I watched my cousin play through pretty much most of 7. And I thought it was cool. I really liked it. I liked watching it, but it wasn't until 8 that I was like, oh, this is really cool, the story. Because the graphical leap from 7 to 8 also is like super huge, even though it's the same console. So I just kind of gravitated towards 8 because it looked prettier, and I enjoyed the love story more in 8 than any of the love stories in 7. But then after that, I played 10 for a bit. I thought it was all right. I loved Kingdom Hearts, so Kingdom Hearts kind of kept me into Final Fantasy for a while. And
Shout out to Tetsuya Nomura.
That's my guy. And then I dabbled a bit with Final Fantasy Online. Final Fantasy 11, I think, is the online one. Played 12. Again, I thought it was cool. I loved Final Fantasy 15. That's one of the ones that kind of brought me back to the series, because I kind of fallen off from it for the last 10 years or so, something like that. And I recently, last day or two recently, finally played through 7 in its entirety. So just to be able to talk about it even more. But
how long did this take?
So you did finish it before the podcast?
Yeah, it took me about 20 hours.
Oh, it's not bad.
You mean the original one? The original 7?
The original, yeah. I downloaded it on PlayStation 4, but it has an option to where you can play it at 3 times speed, to where it's not as slow and stuff like that. And you can also turn off random encounters and stuff like that. So.
Oh, I was like 20 hours.
I was like, dang, how'd you
for the whole Final Fantasy? Like, we just played like 5% of it, and it took us 50 hours. Like, how does that work? So
that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool.
15 is the only one I've ever beat. 7. I remember playing the demo on the demo disc and being like, "Oh, turn-based. I don't like this. It's too boring," because of my ADD ass brain. So unfortunately, I skipped most of them because I only got into turn-based when I started playing Pokemon. Um, it's kind of one of my biggest gaming regrets. I kind of do want to get back into the series, especially with after this. But I did play 15. I enjoyed 15. I was kind of hoping for a more cinematic experience, but I got it with here. But yeah, that's me. I have a very shallow history with Final Fantasy. What about you, Moody?
Just piggybacking off what you all said. I mean, yeah, 15 was a lot of fun. Got me back in the series. Growing up, I loved 1 and what I had mentioned earlier with 3, aka 6 in Japan. And I really love the Game Boy Legends games. I know people.
They were fun.
Yeah, they at the time they were great. I thought they were great. They kept me into the universe, the Final Fantasy universe. And then the movies that came out were pretty cool leading up to this game. When we first got trailers for 15 and the anime movies were pretty cool, the CGI movies. So that kind of got me back into the universe. And then having Cloud in Smash Ultimate he was my go-to, even though he lost in Jivo. He was my main. He didn't get it done, but I loved you against the AI was great. So yeah, just seeing Cloud and other iterations was great. I mean, I never was a Kingdom Hearts person, but yeah, Cloud's the homie. And yeah, I mean, just loved it really growing up. But yeah, just like Michelle and Dana said, kind of lost touch with a lot of the teen ones from like after 10 on. I just was, yeah, I didn't even play 9. I think I played a little bit of 8, but that was it. But yeah,
I know
7,
a lot of people
7 was
love
great.
9. Like a lot of people really consider 9 to be one of the better ones.
No, yeah,
but
well,
I never really got into 9.
They just need to remaster them all now. I mean, not the later ones, but let's see 6, right? That's the
I
one
would love a remaster of 6. 6 is my personal favorite.
What?
I think it would be epic, I think, if they redid that one.
It's number 1 on everyone's list, almost everyone's list. I mean, not Dana specifically, but I mean like a lot of websites and stuff. Yeah, so I would definitely.
Well, I love 6. I think 6 is
okay. Yeah,
like, the opening.
They
6
should do 6.
Iconic.
They should do 6. I guess don't remake the rest unless everyone says 9 is great as well. Maybe 6 through 9. So now that we're at it, but that would take
I would love a Final Fantasy 8 remake.
God, we're gonna be like 80 years old when those games come out. So.
I know, especially the pace they're moving at right now.
Yeah, the creators' kids are gonna be making the games. Like they're gonna be dead. But,
I guess I should mention that I did watch Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, the first movie, and I remember being like, "Ooh, this is pretty, but I don't get it." And then I watched Advent Children 2, and I was like, "Ooh, the action in this is pretty dope, but I don't get it." So
yeah, no,
I think that's Final Fantasy in a nutshell. This is pretty, but I don't get it.
Didn't feel like it. Well, I will say it didn't feel like it for me in this game until the very end. But let's get into it. So this is it. Final Fantasy VII Remake finally came out 2020. So much bad shit has happened this year, but we got this game. It's real. It's not
under
fake.
Quarantine.
Yeah, seriously.
It was literally keeping me going. The news of this game coming out, I was like, I just gotta not die so I could play this goddamn Final Fantasy Remake.
I know.
I'm like, I just gotta make it to April.
I know, and then now the future parts are coming, so it's like, I guess I'll stick around the Earth, wash my hands, put on these masks. This game was rumored for a long time, but is officially announced in a trailer in 2015. All the returning staff members came back. Tetsuya Nomura is the director now. He's the character designer on the old one. Yoshinori Kitashi came back as producer. He was the director of the original one. The scenario writer, Kazushige Nojima, did story and scenario. If I'm butchering these, you guys feel free to call me out. I'm not going to get canceled over these guys' names. Motomu Toriyama came back as the co-director of scenario design, and Nobu Umatsu came back for the score, which is a beautiful freaking score. But before we deep dive, what did you guys think? Was it worth the hype? Did it meet your expectations? Michelle? You were holding on to life itself in order to play this game. Were you?
Yeah. On a whole, outside of some technical issues with the game, I was very satisfied with what I got. I thought it looked great. The music they knocked that out of the park. Like the remix versions of everything, any new music, it was like just fantastically done. Like the music, I think, is the best part of the remake, in my opinion. It's just fantastic. Like just absolutely well done. And the story, which we'll get into, but it was very surprising because, I would have been happy with a 1-to-1 remake and just make it look better. Like I would have been like, is that everything exactly the same? Just look better. But they went above and beyond and started doing crazy stuff with the story and changing things, which I think some people are mad about. After I beat it, I looked it up and I was like, oh, people are pissed. Uh-oh. It didn't even cross my mind that people would be mad. And then when I guess when been waiting for a remake of a game for 20 years and they don't do it exactly, people were like, kind of I guess they felt bamboozled or something. I don't know, but
do you get a sense that it's like Nomura haters because Kingdom Hearts kind of has let people down in a big way, like throughout the whole series? So like since he's adding these meta elements at the end and stuff with the whispers, do you think it's that?
It's funny that you say that because I cannot stand Kingdom Hearts. I hate Kingdom Hearts. It's the most convoluted, annoying thing that you have to play like 40 side games, understand, and read like the back of a receipt that Nomura had when he went to 7-Eleven. And like, it's the most convoluted thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, if you ever watch lore videos, they're like 17 hours long. Nobody knows what the fuck's going on in it, and they're still like trying to figure out. It's like you ever see that meme with the crazy guy with like pinning shit to the board? That's what Kingdom Hearts. That aside,
hallelujah.
That aside, I thought this was very restrained for him. Like I like that he's so creative and he wants to incorporate a lot of elements, but I think somebody might have been on the side saying, "Hey, bro, let's take a couple. We'll let you keep some of the weird stuff, but we gotta like ring you in, like a little." But it was just enough creative elements to where it was like really intriguing because I was expecting like a straight remake, and then about halfway through I started noticing like something's like Aerith knows what she's gonna die. Like I feel like I started noticing stuff like I feel like they know that we know what's gonna happen. So I was really intrigued by that. I didn't see that coming whatsoever. So
cool. Dana, what about you?
I'm pretty much in the same camp. I absolutely love the game. I thought it's one of some of the most fun I've had playing a video game in a long time. I love the story of the characters, the delivery of the characters. There are like Michelle said, there are some technical aspects that I was annoyed with. I guess we'll get into that later on. We'll get into it now. But those aside, I thought it was fantastic. I enjoyed my time with the game, my time in the world. I loved that they took some liberties with the story. Playing through the original Final Fantasy VII, the story really needs some updating from my perspective, from my point of view. There's a lot of hokey stuff in Final Fantasy VII, which is a product of its time, 1997, everything was like that. But it leaves me even more excited to see what's going to happen in the next installments, because you have a sense that they'll go down the familiar path, but it won't be, like Michelle said, 1-for-1. It'll be something else. It'll be something else, pretty much. But I loved it. I loved the game.
Moody, what about you?
It was all right. I mean, it's the best game I played this year, unless I don't know if you can count Royal from Persona 5, because it's essentially the same game with an extra semester and some fixes, because that's a great game. But I didn't have to play 220 hours for Final Fantasy VII. I played about 50, 52 or something, maybe 53. And it was a full, complete game, despite only being whatever it was, 5 hours of the original, or 10 or whatever it was. And
like
I didn't
2.5, 3 maybe.
The biggest complaint from early critics, and I didn't get an early copy of this game or anything, was padding and all that. And I don't know, the side missions, we'll talk about that, I'm sure, but they didn't ruin the game. The padding and all that stuff, I mean, I guess it's there, but I didn't feel padded. It was fine. It made me enjoy the world of Final Fantasy Remake more by getting to know the towns and the sectors and the communities, because without the side missions, you're just fighting. You know what I mean? So a lot of the hokey, goofy stuff, that is part of what Final Fantasy is all about. It's like Star Wars without, Mos Eisley and stuff. You know what I mean? Like you need the cantinas and you need the quirky aliens and droids. So without the towns, yeah, it's fetch quests. This fetch quest in every RPG, JRPG. But without that stuff, do you really care for the people in the sectors? Because think about it, Cloud is a reluctant hero. So when he's kind of forced to do all this stuff for random ass crazy people, it's lighting him up a little bit, pun intended, I guess. So it works for me. And that stuff made me, really love Cloud, just the way he reacts to everything, from being a dick to just being a real good dude at the end, despite his reluctance and his sarcasm. I fell in love with him, and more than the women, actually, because of the way he progressed through the story. It's a touching game. There's definitely issues that all these other critics have that I've watched videos and read reviews for, but they're there, but they don't take away from what is ultimately almost a perfect game for me. So there you go.
It's not because I'm drinking. I fucking love this game. There was a point when I was playing it, like during a cutscene, when I was like, oh shit, I haven't felt this way since like I saw Star Wars for the very first time as a child. Like there's a lot of like jankiness about there's some jankiness to the game. It's not a perfect game, but like when it hits, like the charm of the characters, like the design, the storytelling from moment to moment, the arcs, the music, like everything just comes together in a way that's just like really special. And it was like shocking because like I played through 15 and I enjoyed a lot of it, but like at one point in playing this, I was like, I get why people like Final Fantasy, I guess. Like, am I a Final Fantasy guy? I think I'm a Final Fantasy guy now. I think I guess I gotta go through this whole series. There's points where there's a lot of like kind of things I have to do in my head to like kind of justify the score I'm gonna end up giving it. Like kind of just like the ending felt more like an epilogue and kind of like a game trailer to for the next part rather than the full ending. Some meta-ness was weird, but kind of expected for a JRPG. I was kind of more surprised that it wasn't more JRPG than it was as far as like the very abstract elements of like storytelling that things can get into. Like how, I don't know, there's like that one meme that's like every JRPG starts out with you like in a village or like in a school, and then like it ends with you fighting God. And it's like, oh, that's kind of like, even in Persona, I was like, oh, that's kind of the truth. But and then it kind of does that in this too. But I would say for like more often than not, this was just like a very well told adventure story, a very well told mix of sci-fi and fantasy. I felt weird comparing to Star Wars when I had that feeling, but I was like, oh wait, there's two characters named Biggs and Wedge. Like they want this, they aim for this feeling. So,
and they're in other games too. That's like an inside joke.
Oh really?
Like,
oh that's
yeah.
Oh,
they put him in other games. They're also in Chrono Trigger too.
So does that mean Wedge isn't dead? Oh no, they confirmed at the end that he's not, right?
Well, you'll get across different Final Fantasy games. You'll have characters named Biggs, Wedge, Sid, or I think those are usually the three that are used in every Final Fantasy game.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. All right. Well, I can't wait to get into it eventually. But yeah, it was funny because like I was not as hyped. I was like, oh, I was excited to play through a piece of gaming history that everyone references and stuff, and a game that I regretfully missed as a child because I was just like so like into action games and flying games and stuff. But I didn't think it would hit me this way, and it might have been the quarantine. It might have been the fact that I was just looking for something to hold on to, but like it was kind of one of those things that just like it did the thing that you hope any geek thing would do or any story would do, and made you forget about everything and really immersed you for a second. And there's just like beautiful things all around it, and even like, yeah. I mean, let's dive more into it. Let's start off with the biggest thing that this changed gameplay wise, like the combat system. This isn't the first real-time combat Final Fantasy, but people are still praising this. What do you guys think of the active time battle and the way this the combat system was in this game?
All right,
I thought it was.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you go ahead.
No, you're good, Michelle. Please, ladies first.
Well, I liked it. It kind of felt like a little bit of a refined version of Final Fantasy 15's battle system. It was like a little bit hard to pick up at first. The game doesn't really make it apparent to you in the beginning as much as it should. I think that you need to be switching the characters around. Like you shouldn't be just sticking with one character the whole time you're fighting, because whatever character you're controlling gets aggroes the enemy. So like you can use that to your advantage in a battle. Like there's a couple battles where actually you need to do it. Like I remember towards the end, it was that that big like it's when you're fighting with just Barrett and Aerith, and it's that big mechanical thing, and he had all those things hovering around him, and one of them was behind him, and he would attack whoever you were controlling in the front. So you'd have to switch back and forth to like distract them, so you could hit him from the back and hit him from the front. The game doesn't make that apparent enough, I think, in the beginning, that you need to actually be switching around to control the different characters, because they all, like, you know, Barrett uses guns, so he's for long range, you know, and Aerith is long range too, and then Tifa and Cloud are like close combat fighters, but like you need to use their skills.
Wait, question. Sorry. I have to ask you this. Did you ever fuck yourself over by having Barrett's like full ball cannon gun, which is a melee, and you really needed him to shoot one of the bosses, and you can't switch in the battle?
I
your weapon.
I literally just used that once, and I was like, "Fuck this! I'll never again."
Well, it's actually great.
A badass weapon, but what you do is you give him the ball weapon, so he's got the close quarter stuff, but you make all of his battle like your shortcuts, like stuff that he shoots, because you could still use those shooting moves. So like you can use the shooting moves to like I think it was called Maximum Fury. He had one where he would just like shoot 1,000,000 bullets, and like all his shooting moves still work.
Okay. Yeah.
So you could use those. I mean, obviously you have to wait till your ATBs like full to do it. But so that's kind of like a disadvantage. But yeah, but that cannon, like the cannonball one, that was an ass whooping weapon, boy. He was tearing shit up with that cannonball arm.
Oh no, I loved it.
Well, I'm a fucking idiot for not using it then. I can't believe I didn't use it.
It just came at the wrong time.
I was like, this just looks like, honestly, I'll be honest. I just was like, this looks dumb. I like when Barrett has a fucking gun on him. I don't want him to look like he has like a freaking plastic ball at the end of his thing. I want to see Barrett with a huge ass gun. And honestly, I kind of just went with I would switch out to weapons to get the special thing that they come with. And then always revert back and reset upgrades to use the iconic design or the original design, because the original designs just look so cool. I guess with Tifa and Aerith, I wasn't so picky, but with Cloud and Barrett, since their weapons are so pronounced and so part of their design, I pretty much stuck with the Buster Sword and the Gatling gun. What about you, Dana? Did you like the combat system?
Well, I really enjoyed Final Fantasy 15's combat system, so this was, you know, kind of an extension of that, and I loved it. I prefer the real-time action over anything turn-based. Really, that's why I gravitated towards Kingdom Hearts, and it's very Kingdom Hearts-esque with its combat. So, one thing I thought was funny is the fact that when you do switch characters, that character aggroes it. It's kind of like, you know, it's that video game logic where it's like, all right, so you're just gonna attack me. You're not gonna attack my guys, and it's also you really get the sense of the rest of your party's like really not doing shit when they're not being possessed by you. And you get the feeling like they're watching you fight, and then you switch to them, they're they throw away their cigarette break. Like, oh shit, I got to fight now. It's like,
yeah, they don't.
Toss you a cure every once in a while. There you go,
like,
bitch.
they're like, yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. You see them walking around, but
yeah.
Other than that,
I wish there was
I
a
had
setting
blast
to.
with it.
I wish there was a setting to prioritize like them trying to fill up their ATB and them using their triangle attack. I swear to God, I don't think the AI ever uses the triangle attack to do anything. And some of the triangle attacks are like the best attacks that don't use up any ATB or whatever. Moody, what do you think about it?
What they said. I mean, it's great. And being able to, you're forced to use other characters though. So you'll like Tifa and Barrett a lot. I loved using Barrett for like a long time. When I played the demo at E3, I was like, I'm never going to use this dude. He's just a big hulky guy that shoots far and it's weak. I'm going to be Cloud this whole game. But you can't be Cloud the whole game. It forces your hand to play the other characters, which is a benefit because then you end up, when you see the cutscenes, you're like, yeah, I just roasted that boss with Tifa and now she's in the cutscene and I actually care about more than a pretty face and a nice person. I was her and she was I was uppercutting the fuck out of people and all this shit. So I was like, it forces your hand, makes you love the world and the characters more in a wonky, weird, probably unintentional way, but it works. So
I will say I think Barrett and Aerith were probably my least favorite to play as. I appreciated them, but according to like just for my own play style personally, I didn't go to them a lot. I think Tifa was kind of the standout for me because it's like playing a brawler in a fun way. Like she had the whirling uppercuts. I like that you could stage her getting aggressive by doing the one of her moves is basically to like level up in strength, and then you could do different triangle moves. Yeah, the overpower move. I
She
like
could
that.
beast people, man. I was using that Stardust move all the time.
Oh
the
yeah,
one that zigzags like that.
Yeah.
She's ill, man.
You could beast people with Tifa. She was crazy. She was like almost overpowered. Like you use Tifa, you could beast stuff pretty hard.
She's dope.
Yeah. And then Cloud is just great to play as. Sorry, Dana. What's up?
I said I really enjoyed using Barrett. I think maybe just the way I set him up, where I equipped him with the it's that dodge material where you do an attack after you dodge.
Oh yeah.
And if I would do that into large crowds, I could get pretty much everybody to get staggered pretty quickly, and then I'd switch over to somebody else as soon as everyone's staggered. So I had a very functional role for Barrett and in my playthrough in terms of fighting.
What did you think about the materia system and the weapons and the upgrades? Did you like that system at all, or did you like that system?
Yeah, I liked it. It's, I don't know, the way I play games. I like to have a set, like this person's the designated healer, this person's the tank, this person's everything else like that. But the fact that a lot of people are going in and out of your party a lot, I found myself like, okay, you can't be this anymore. You got to be something else now because this person's gone and stuff like that. So it always kept me on my toes and it kept me experimenting with different combinations. And,
yeah,
if they fit different player types, different characters.
I think for me, I just made sure Cloud had every element, which kind of detracted from like other things that you could do with Cloud, but he was like the only reliable one. Like you're always going to be Cloud for the most part, except for that one part in the lab. Michelle, you're a JRPG person, right? I want to say that, didn't you for 1 year say that Nier Automata and Persona 5 are your games of the year? Was that you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What did you think about the system compared to like contemporary JRPGs? And
they did a good job. Final Fantasy VII was like ahead of the game a little bit when it came out, like with the materia system and that kind of stuff. So I mean, it was already they kept the materia system almost exactly the same. Like they just there's a couple new ones, but like you could link them and all that stuff. That all was from the original game. The new thing was the weapons. What's the word I'm looking for? You could buff. Yeah, you could like buff them up and like level your weapons up. That was new. I actually found that a little tedious, and then so I just put everybody's weapons on auto
really?
upgrade after a while. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't find it. I felt like it was just like, because I felt like it seemed like every 20 minutes I was having to do it, and you'd find new weapons and you're like, oh god, now I got 100 more skill points, I gotta do this shit again. So after a while I just like, after hour like 40, I just put auto on everybody's weapons and just let them do the thing, and then I would just swap them around to kind of change it up, or because some of them are like more for magic, if you want your character to be magic heavy, magic attack heavy, or you want to equip a lot of materia. Some of the weapons had more slots than others, so
yeah, I actually liked it, but there was definitely times where I feel you. I was definitely like, oh, I spent the last 3 hours of my life just resetting this Buster Sword to see to try to min max MP or try to min max attack power or try to get as much materia as I can. I'm like, I haven't been playing the game at all. I've just been like messing around with these weapons. I like that.
Would have been nice to have an auto materia. They should have put that in there. Like maybe like if you want to just press a button and you can have like defense heavy materia or magic heavy materia set up, or let you save builds. Like what if you have like a build that you like that has a bunch of magic in it? You could just save it and then apply it to each weapon. It was just tedious to me.
Actually, that's true. Yeah, because actually Call of Duty does that with their guns, and it's like one of the things that everyone loves about Call of Duty multiplayer right now. Moody, what was your playstyle like? Were you did you stick with the original weapons or did you like the newer ones?
I tried all the weapons just to do it, and then I had no idea that you could level up to 100% for each weapon until Artez told me. So because he had beaten the game like a week before me or whatever, so I was like, oh crap. So I'm like fighting really hard enemies with like this really weak weapon because I'm trying to get 100% of it. So like the Buster Sword I used way too long. I should have got like moved on as soon as I got 100%. Instead, late in the game, I'm trying all these like weapons that I bought at shops and they have 10%. And I'm getting my ass handed to me because of this goal of getting 100%, which honestly, I guess it's just to use this, so you can use the skills with any weapon. You can have the Buster Sword, but still do the triple slash because you level to 100% with the other sword. So that's a cool benefit, but I wish I knew that from the beginning. This game doesn't hold your hand, like Dana says. So a lot of stuff you discover like with 5 hours left. You're in the Shinra building, and you're like, oh, I can do that now. Like, great, awesome. They do that on purpose, so you play it again instead of selling it. So, but yeah, otherwise, I had a good time with it. I wish I did what Michelle did. It would have saved me like 5 hours. I just hit the triangle and auto did everything. But I was kind of fascinated by it because it reminded me of Mass Effect. So the whole like, when you're looking at the planets and stuff, it kind of like reminded me of that whole map, the graphic of that. And I was like, oh, this is like very Mass Effect-y, like whatever. So just being a weird nerd. But I don't know. Overall, it's fine.
It's kind of so robust that it's a shame a little bit that there's no end game to really, once you min-maxed everything and like got your skills up, there's like no multiplayer, no. I guess you can go back to the Coliseums. You can do New Game Plus, which is probably what I'm going to do with it. And I also hope that all that stuff, like your specific settings, transfers onto Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 whenever that comes out in 2030.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what are they gonna do, or like I deleted the game off my hard drive because it took up like 9 million, gigs, but I kept the save file. So I wonder if you transfer the save file, obviously they're probably gonna start them out at level 1 again in the next one, right?
Yeah, I guess, which would be a shame because like you've done all that like investment into your character.
Yeah,
like,
but maybe they'll have some kind of thing like if you have your save file. It was kind of like that Mass Effect where if you had your save file, like it will remember all your choices and remember it would give you like a little bit of bonus things or like, oh, this, and if you transfer it over, they'll probably do something like that, I'm assuming.
I wonder how that's going to work with the next gen consoles though, because would you have to like upload your save file to the cloud?
Yeah, probably have to put it in the cloud.
Because you think that if they were going to do that, they would put something in this game that was like, oh, upload your save to the cloud, and like a setting like that in the menu in order to do that. So
I think you just answered your own question. It's going to start over. It's going to be a whole completely new experience.
I worked so hard.
50 hours.
I spent
50,
so
not
much,
220.
I spent so much time at midnight when I should have been sleeping, resetting my upgrades.
Well, that's your problem.
I guess the best way to look at it is the next game is it's a brand new game. It's not really,
Yeah, that is true.
It's not like another episode. It's a completely new game. So
yeah, definitely.
What about the summons? Did you guys get all the summons? Because I think there was one I didn't even see, and I couldn't even beat Leviathan. I kept putting Leviathan off because I was like, I'll get more powerful and do this. And then I just ended up finishing the game on accident before ever getting the chance to unlock Leviathan. Did you guys unlock all your summons, and which ones did you like to use the most? No?
I got Ifrit, Shiva, Fat Chocobo, and then the
That's your boy.
Chocobo. I love Fat Chocobo.
That's the homie.
I love him so much. I equipped him the cloud because I want to use him so much. And then I did not get the other two. It's Leviathan and it's
Bahamut.
Yeah,
I didn't. So none of us got it. How about you, Mike?
No, I didn't get those either.
We suck.
Do you feel that Fat Chocobo is worth getting the 3 bars for? Because didn't you have to get 3 ATB bars in order to get him? Or 2? No, you had to get 2 in order to summon him, right?
I didn't.
Oh yeah,
did
yeah.
you?
You have to use 2 AT bars. I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I never used Fat Chocobo that much. I always used Ifrit.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I would use Fat Chocobo when I'm fighting an enemy that doesn't have like a weakness, or if it's just like you just need blunt strength, I'm going to use Fat Chocobo because that's what he is. And so he excelled for me in those points. So.
Speaking of enemies, which let me hear your nightmares. Let me hear what bosses.
All right, my turn. You know where I'm going with this.
Oh yeah.
That stupid little Star Wars Jawa, green Jawa thing, the Tonberry of death. The fucking, I don't know. It's like the baby Jawa of death. A fucking Tonberry thing that those group of thugs pull out, and you're like, what is this shit? This like 3-foot reptile person and with a knife. And he's got a cloak on, and
that's when you fight Reno, right? That's when you fight Reno in sector, the air sector. I forget which number that is, but that's after that fight, right?
6. I think it's 6.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong.
Or 5.
Is it 5?
I believe it.
But I know it was a daytime fight, and yeah, man, that was one of the few times in the game I had to put it on easy because I'm like, I'm not wasting my day against this guy. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I died like 3 or 4 times. I was like, easy. And while we're on that subject, like, it is pretty cool that you can change the difficulty. I'm sure none of you guys do that. I do it because I'm a loser, but I suck at video games. I don't know. The easy level in this game is so fucking easy compared to normal. Like, normal it's not anywhere near like a Blood Souls game. But like compared to most games, this normal is like a hard for compared to a lot of games. But easy is like literally that Tonberry thing. I whacked him with like the spike baseball bat like 6 times and he died. I was like, that was it? Like, all I had to do was put it on easy. Like, and then I did that actually by accident against the Hell House because I died on that. And I was like, there's no way I'm beating this guy. And I actually made adjustments against the Hell House, which is incredible, by the way. You battle a house. Like, how fucking awesome is that? Like, it's this, the battle of dreams, right? And I guess I
literally at the same time Cloud did said, "How do you fight a house?" So that was pretty fun.
But no, just to close up that thought, all it is elemental. Like, every time he changes, you just and I was like, that's so easy. How did I not know that? And I knew that, but I changed the difficulty anyway, just to like, whatever, just get past it. And it took me like, I don't even know, like a minute to beat it after like dying like 20, 40, I don't even know how many times. But I was like, had I just made the adjustments, I would have beat it on normal. So, but the easy level is like, it's like for little kids. It's ridiculous, the drastic change in difficulty from easy to normal.
I want to say.
I think I was telling Mike that.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. I was saying either you or Michelle or both of you played it on hard, right?
I played it on normal the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I played it on normal, and I've gone back on hard and played parts of it. And hard is hard because you can't use items to restore your MP or anything else like that.
That's so insane.
It's ridiculous. But I played on normal, and I found it challenging without being brutal. Where I felt
100%, yeah.
To where
I think chapter
18
is pretty hard on normal. Like I had a little bit of chapter 18, like when they are fighting like the personification of fate and stuff, and like those three things, they kind of whoop your ass at the beginning, you know, and you don't realize
me some trouble.
Yeah.
Well, I know I think I was around level 36 once I got to the end of the game. So I don't know if that has any bearing. I don't know where you guys were.
I was 39. I was 39, and I only died to the final bosses before Sephiroth once, and then I beat him throughout the game. I actually whooped the boss's ass, which is surprising. I felt really strong in this game, maybe from doing all the side missions and a lot of fighting everybody. I leveled up really quickly.
I'm right there with you, and what I think it was for me was that like the biggest bosses in the game were like super hyped. Like the Airbuster, like you had to go through a terminal every single time to choose what to take off of it. So it felt like, oh, like wow, like this is gonna be a crazy ass boss. And even the Hell House, like you kept going up in escalation. And I feel like for me, it being that hyped kind of made me like slowly inch off the chair and like stand up straight and like really get focused. And because of that, like I think I one-shotted Hell House and I one-shotted the Airbuster because I was like as focused as I've ever been in a video game in order to like to beat him. But then like a random mini boss in Sector 7 when I'm doing like side quests will like blindside me with like an elemental that I don't have equipped, and I'd be like, what the fuck is this? This is like a random toad. Like it was kicking the shit out of me.
So true.
Yeah.
I mean, Sephiroth whooped my ass the first time I found him. Just tore my ass up. And I think it was A because I was like, wait. I was like, whoa, I'm fighting Sephiroth? Like, wait.
I was like that too.
I can't. What's going to happen?
I didn't think so either. Holy shit.
And he started floating down. I was like, what? Sephiroth's coming? And then I thought it was going to be a cutscene of them fighting. And then it went back to Cloud. I was like, oh shit, I got to fight him? Oh no. And then he just whooped my ass.
That's exactly what I thought. When it went to the third person camera, I was like, no fucking way, dude. Like already
because he's fast. Like I was constantly having to like just fight, like dodge. I was using that, what was it called? It's like counterance, where he would go into defense and then he would counter strike like if you hit him. But you didn't have to be quick.
It didn't do shit.
Oh, I mean, you have to time it. You have to like bam, bam.
Oh, I live.
Because you have to like hit them, build your ATB up to like do the move, and you have to like time it so where like bam, bam, you can do the move, and then the guy's gonna hit you. Like you have to kind of like time it. But the first time I didn't know what the fuck happened. He beat me up in like a minute. I was dead.
It was a squash match.
Was it a real fight? Was I supposed to lose this?
Actually,
I was so hyped up at that point. I was super hyped up at that point. I refused to lose to Sephiroth. I'm like, no. I would hold the baby, keep the baby quiet. Daddy's gotta take care of some business. So, but no, I pretty much won that fight using the counter stance move because it's it really does come down to timing with that. Like if you see him mid swing, hit the X button, go down to counter stance, and it'll give you a big edge in those fights. So I lived and died by that attack towards the end.
Well, speaking of Sephiroth, I heard that you don't even see Sephiroth until way after Midgar in the original game. Is that right?
Yeah, they build him up because there's this really cool moment where it's right after you come out of Midgard and the world opens up, and then you run to the middle of the desert, and there's this giant snake enemy that's impaled. There's a snake enemy that's like super strong. Like if you encounter it in the desert when you first go out there, it just tears your ass up. And then a little later, you find that same snake enemy, and he's like all bloody and impaled on a big spike, and they're like, oh, Sephiroth did that. Like you don't even Like, you haven't even seen him yet or anything. You've just heard of Sephiroth at that point. So them bringing Sephiroth in so early, I thought initially when I was playing it, I thought it was just kind of fan service. I was like, because everybody loves Sephiroth, right? So like, I'm like, oh yeah, they're just giving you a little taste of the Seph, just give you a little hint. But then he started coming like in a lot. I was like, oh, this is kind of like
a lot.
They're doing something different with him. And then at the end, I was like I almost like what they're doing with Sephiroth is crazy. Like, he's almost like, I think he can control time and like all kinds of stuff. Like he knows way more than everybody in the game. Like he's like you said, he's like a god almost. Like he's like it was crazy. And he already had his one wing out and stuff. Like, I was like, I don't know. It's interesting what they're doing with him. Cause like, yeah, in the original game, they like really build Sephiroth up to the point by the time you meet him the first time, you're like, holy shit, And in this one, they bring him right out. So,
are you more concerned about it or excited with the?
I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned. I just thought it was interesting that, and like I said, I thought the reason I thought it was fan service is just because he's so popular. Like, he's, other than Cloud, he's the most iconic thing about Final Fantasy VII. And he's probably like, if you ask somebody that plays JRPGs, what's your top 5 JRPG villains, Sephiroth's going to be in the top 5 probably 90% of the time, because he's cool. He's like, he's kind of mysterious, and he's like badass, and he has a cool sword, and he has cool hair, and I like that they kind of wove him in a little bit more. So,
well, I know once, even from the opening credits, you get a hint of, in the remake, you get a hint of Sephiroth's involvement, because the opening theme, if you go back and listen to it, it's interwoven with One Winged Angel, which is Sephiroth's theme as well. When Aerith is in the alleyway, you hear little reprises of One Winged Angel, so you get a sense that, okay, Sephiroth is here from the beginning, and they're making his presence kind of known from the beginning. Whereas in the like what Michelle said, in the original game, you see his sword, you see him kill the President Shinra, but you don't see him until after you leave Midgar. So it's known, you're on the run because he's killed President Shinra, and you're going out to find him and stuff like that. But like he's very much more in your face in this game.
I did love the little line he had at the end where he was like, Cloud, you're going to have 7 seconds. So let's see what you do with your time. And the 7 seconds is the 7 seconds when Sephiroth comes down to kill Aerith. Because Cloud stands there, he doesn't know what's going on. And then, Sephiroth kills Aerith in front of him. And he said, and he at the end, he was like talking shit to him. He's like, you're going to have 7 seconds. Let's see if you can do something with it this time. I was like, dang!
Yeah, so the whole thing saying this time, this is like, you think they're basically just trying to throw people off, right? Like, everything's changing from here on out.
Aerith knows she's gonna die. That's what's different about this one. About halfway through, I started getting the hint that she knows she's gonna die, because she tells Cloud earlier, after they take her and she comes up in that vision, she says, "Don't fall in love with me." She says that because she knows she's gonna die. She knows, I think, because she's connected to the live stream, and the time only flows in one direction, that she knows the future, like Sephiroth knows the future, except that she's accepted her fate, prior to the end. I think that the whole point of the end of the game is that she decides that she's going to fight fate. And then the other part of the game, she's accepting her fate. But Sephiroth is trying to like actively use the live stream power to control destiny and change the trajectory of what's going to happen to the planet to be in his favor, right? So I think that's like this interesting dichotomy between Sephiroth and Aerith are like two sides of the same coin as far as like ancients and like, the live stream's concerned. So they're going to be polar opposite, kind of fighting each other for control of like destiny. Sephiroth wants a certain destiny happen. She wants to fight that destiny,
It's kind of like Zelda almost. Like, this has happened so many times in the past. Do you think this is like the second lifespan? This is almost kind of like a sequel to Final Fantasy and not much of a remake.
I almost want to say that the original Final Fantasy game is an alternate timeline in this game. it's a possible future, and they know that, and you know, and the whispers are like basically because Sephiroth is like messing with the flow of the life stream and of time. It's like disrupting them. Like people that are like dead are like coming back to life, and their souls can't rest in the live stream. That's why he says I can hear them screaming. They're screaming because they're dead, and they can't go back. They're like kicked out of the live stream. They're trying to keep Destiny the way it's supposed to go. Because if you're messing with it, like, you know, there's like lots of lore in other movies about if you mess with the flow of time and stuff, like it messes a lot of things up. So the whispers are there to try to keep things going the way they're supposed to go. But, you know, that's why, it's crazy to me. Like the whole entire thing with this part of the story was like, just, it was blowing my mind. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was so weird and out of nowhere. I was like, wait, are they doing some meta stuff with this? Like, I had no idea they would do that. It's just, I could see why people are mad because they wanted Final Fantasy with better graphics. And now they're like giving them all this crazy meta stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I heard on another podcast, I believe, or another article that's saying like someone specifically was saying like, oh, like Nomura's doing some Kingdom Hearts shit right now with like all the background stuff, which is kind of surprising because the everything else pretty much before you leave Shinra is kind of like a straightforward adventure story besides the whispers. I guess it's cool that the whispers are there because it doesn't make the ending feel out of left field or anything, because there's like major events that happen with the whispers at Seventh Heaven and stuff and all that. But for the most part, it was like kind of like a fun adventure story with its ups and downs and stuff. Dana, do you think it's for better or for worse, the changes they're making?
I personally love it because it just makes me, you know, think like you definitely get the feeling that this isn't Aerith or Sephiroth's first time around. That they've been here, they know what's going to happen, what's supposed to happen, and they're changing it. And it also makes you think. It makes me think at least. There's this Sephiroth, but is there another Sephiroth that's in this same timeline where maybe his future might be a little different? Because if the Sephiroth you fight in this game has been around for the other game and the other properties, maybe there's one that doesn't know his future and he's kind of unaware of it. And those are things that makes me think about. And you see Zack living through in the end when he was supposed to die, but he lived.
I was like, Zack's alive. What if you could play Zack and Cloud at the same time? What's gonna happen when Cloud meets Zack? So that part too, I was like, Zack's fucking alive.
Yeah.
I don't know how this game plays to people that haven't played the original though. This is lost on them, right?
Yeah, it's lost on me. I kind of feel like how I felt when I watched Fellowship of the Ring for the first time. I was like, whoa, this is what this thing has been about this whole time that everyone's been talking about. And then like all the stuff that's like meta or like hinting out future books or future parts of the story, I was just like, oh, I guess I'll find that out later because it's not important right now, but it's cool that it's going to be there. So that's kind of like literally when they leave Shinra Building, I was like, oh, that was the ending for me. And the rest is a gameplay demo for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. And I was like, I guess I'll find out who this dude is. That's like Cloud, basically, but he has black hair. That's cool. And then I figured that the whole thing with fighting Destiny was like, oh, this is definitely like the designers like talking to the audience and saying that it's going to be different around this time. I'm a sci-fi nerd enough to know that when authors are talking to their audiences and fanboys and trying to tell them things are going to be different this time around.
Well, I also feel like the inclusion of Zack living could be because in the original Final Fantasy VII, the way we kind of get to the bottom of who Cloud really is it's super convoluted. It's not really clear. And I think these characters that he's put into motion can act as a clearer point to kind of reveal a lot of these characters' backstories and connections with each other and stuff like that. So I'm really excited that it's kind of splintering into different directions.
I'm sure when you develop characters as much as they have been, because you were the one that was telling me that Jesse's mom was not ever in the picture. You never do that mission where you visit Jesse and see her dad and stuff, which is crazy because I feel like that's a huge point of the story that they were telling, because it kind of gave Cloud his motivation to be more than just a merc. And that was a really poignant point with like a cool set piece with the motorcycles and stuff. Who the fuck is Zach? I'm you don't have to answer it for me. I'll definitely either play the original or find out later. Moody, do you remember any of this from when you played VII back in the day?
Absolutely not. But guys, how have we gone over an hour plus in this podcast and not brought up the Honeybee Inn? Come on. Fuck that fucking Crisis Core, new canon, old timeline, Elseworlds. Honeybee Inn. Let's talk about it right now. It's way more important than the ending.
They did a really good job with that, updating it, because there are, and I know somebody, if once I say this, people are like, oh, I'm Michelle's SJW. I am not, but there were problematic elements in the Honeybee.
I was kind of cringing at first. I was like, oh shit, what are they gonna do? Like, are they gonna? Is this gonna be hella 90s and dated? Oh my god.
It's not. It wasn't like malicious in the 90s or anything when they made it, but there's just things that like there's like homosexual stuff, but but it wasn't depicted in the most glamorous light. You know what I'm saying?
Was it more like the butt of the joke rather than?
Yes, that's exactly. Like there's like a joke in the 90s version where Cloud goes into the wrong room and gets put into like a hot tub with a bunch of sweaty dudes, and it's really uncomfortable, and and that kind
was
of stuff.
Dana's
like,
background.
He
didn't.
It was
he
more like
didn't
a
have
joke.
time to do it.
But they're like you said, they were the butt of the joke instead of being part of the joke, And then when they redid it, it's a lot better. It's a lot more inclusive. It plays around in a really fun way with like gender roles. And like, Cloud, there's like this hilarious part where Cloud's all dolled up, and then he finally meets back up with Tifa, and Tifa looks at him and he goes, shut up, I know I nailed it.
Yes.
Dude.
That's what I was gonna bring that up. Thank you, Michelle. Yes.
That one line.
He's like,
that
I
one
know.
line.
I look fucking great.
He's like, I look fucking good, all right, bitch. Sorry.
So, he's like,
he was so catty. I loved it.
It was so amazing. That's little subtle humor. Oh my god, nailed it.
I mean, in that one line, they made it less problematic. They kind of actually brought out like the drag scene and the attitude in the drag scene. And like they avoided all the hacky jokes of like, oh, gay people.
Like, I'm an dress, but I'm a man. But they totally like. Cloud owns it. He's like, yeah, I look good. And then the whole dance scene, holy shit. Dude. I like failed the mini game almost because I couldn't even pay attention. It was like sexy gyrating and stuff.
You just want to watch it.
Nailed it.
Yeah, you just want to watch it.
Mind
I was dying when they were doing the dancing scene. I was like, this is fantastic.
Dude.
This is absolutely amazing.
Mind blowing.
I got into it. I nailed it just because I was like, no, I'm not gonna fucking fail Cloud right now. He's like putting himself out there. He's doing this. Like, I'm gonna show the world that Cloud's stripes like will shine and outshine everyone. And
Andre is amazing. I love that dude. He's so great. Yeah, that whole sequence is like one of the greatest sequences in video game history. Period. I just like, it's one of those games you're like, oh, this remake is beautiful, it's dope, it's this is a good RPG, and then that happens, you're like, we're on another level now, like they're going places now. And then ever since then, like, it really got me emotional with the characters, because until then I was like, Cloud looks dope, but he's like too cool for school, and the girls are all over him, and like they're cute and sweet in their own different ways, and the supporting cast is really cool and stuff, but do I care yet? It's like, this is good. And then when that happened, I was like, I fucking love this game. I love this person. It just added so many dimensions to all that. And it's just a dance, funny, whatever scene, but it really got me. It hooked me in. And then from there on, when bad things happened, I got the feels. I got really emotional. I got choked up when certain things happen. Oh, I guess we're on a spoiler cast, but especially Wedge and all them. So yeah, the side characters. when things happen, it was like really, it was tough, because that just the moment the honeybee really brought brought me close to the characters, that they have another side to them besides just being pretty on the outside. Like they have this just opened up so much personality in the game, and then from there on I just cared about every single thing I did until the very end.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to the writing and for the characters and just the characters themselves, that they were able to turn, what is it, 2.5 hours, Dana, the Midgar section of Final Fantasy VII. They were able to turn 2.5 hours to 50 hours and make it seem, for the most part, totally necessary.
Except for Hojo's lab. Did anybody else
Hojo's was
Hojo's lab?
It was a stretch. It was.
I was like, come on, bro. This needs to be done. Just find the door. I hated that part.
Yeah. The only thing I liked about that part is like, it's probably one of the few times that you ever play without Cloud in your party, right? When you were playing as Aerith and Tifa. And I kind of actually, speaking to character development, I liked the friendship between Aerith and Tifa. Everyone's saying like, oh, who's the right girl, Aerith or Tifa? Like, and it's just like, fuck you guys, they should be together.
Yeah.
I ship them. They don't need no man. Cloud could like figure out his own shit, like, yeah, those two together, their friendship, like, subtly, all the characters, like, they're developed so subtly. It's like, it's done through like just the actions they have and like just tiny moments. I mean, besides Jesse having that one scene, they definitely get their scenes, but like, I think the most powerful stuff in the character development is done through very subtle ways and very artful, creative ways. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Even freaking Barrett. I thought Barrett was just gonna be one note, but then when you get more into Marlene and you get more into like his relationship with Cloud and like kind of like both of them kind of like thawing with each other and understanding each other more, it's really cool.
Barrett ended up being so much more dimensional than I thought, because you look at his appearance, and of course we always judge a book by its cover first. And he's the big brute, he's the WWE body guy, and he comes off that way right away. But I like
how he's in a train and they're like, oh, we're looking for Avalanche, and then they're looking for these terrorists, and he's like talking to Shinra employees with a fucking gun on his hand. He's like, oh, like, I'm hiding out on this train with everyone. But
it's such a swerve. It's right. It's such a swerve, because then the second half of the game, he's the total opposite. You know what I mean? He's the heart and soul of this crew of the Avalanche. You know what?
You really feel for him towards the end, because Cloud and Tifa don't tell him that Biggs and Wedge died.
Oh, right.
I'm sorry, Biggs and Jesse. And he's like, we'll find them soon. We'll find them. I'm like, and then they're like looking at each other. I was like, oh no, it's so sad. And he thought Marlene was dead. And like, I was like getting all like choked up.
I cried when Jesse died. When Jesse died. She is, at the beginning, you're like, what is this girl's deal? She's such a creeper.
Get on that Buster Sword, man.
Yeah. She's so thirsty.
She's honest.
You know what?
I appreciate that in a girl. I appreciate that and straightforwardness in a woman.
1,000%. She's one of the best side characters, and the guest side has another meaning to it, right?
Yeah.
Supporting.
She's trying to be the side piece.
She's just let it out, right? She's one of the best supporting characters in gaming, like, ever. I've never gotten choked up when a supporting character in a video game died, like, ever. I can't remember. Like, that's crazy. So have you? Like, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. I kind of got choked up when not James Marsden. Who the fuck? What's
John Marston?
Not John Marston.
When Cyclops died.
Arthur. What's his name?
But Arthur's the main character. Arthur Morgan.
Arthur Morgan's horse dies. I got sad there.
Oh, the horse.
Especially if you got the bonds of the horse, and then like he's like, "Oh, girl, I love you" or whatever. I was like, "Oh my gosh."
That's cheating. That's cheating.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That's cheating.
Wait,
But they have a lot of sad backstories in this too, like Aerith's backstory. Like the part where that lady was waiting for her husband to come home, and Aerith just walks up to her and she's like, "Oh, he's in the live stream now." I was like, "Geez."
Yeah. That was insane.
And Aerith is just she just doesn't want to be left alone, and she's always been abandoned, not purposely, but like people that she loves, things happen to them all the time. And she's like so connected with the earth and the life force of the earth that she feels every death, and she feels when people go. And I feel like, it's kind of like this tragedy of her like having to physically experience everybody's death, like.
Yeah, it was pretty.
And she's always been isolated and different, and she's like, I don't know. I found her backstory. They really fleshed her out like fantastically, especially because, I mean, I was sad when she died in the original game. And in the original game, like I bawled when she died. I'd never really played a game where a main character died like that. Like somebody that was in your party in JRPG, they just like died, gone forever. Like I don't think before that really, maybe like Phantasy Star, but no game really did that. That was bold as shit to have a main character that you were leveling up and everything like get snuffed out and you can't bring them back, Like that was a bold move. And then now they're really beefing her up. So now you really don't want her to die now. Like you would be, it's
and even
now you're
even
like
now you kind of have the hope that maybe she won't.
But when she does, like,
is that a trick though? Are they just dangling that in front of you to swipe the rug out from underneath you again?
Who knows?
Well, they did that with Barrett. They did that fake out. I was like, oh, maybe they killed Barrett instead of Aerith in this one, and then they literally were like, the fate were like, no, you're not the one that's supposed to die. I was like, oh, damn, it's still gonna be Aerith. No, I like her.
She's such a buttercup.
She is.
I have another question that we totally passed by. Super important question. I can't believe we missed this. Did you guys take the fucking elevator or the stairs?
Elevator.
You took the elevator? Moody, what'd you take?
Vader.
Oh, man. I took the fucking stairs. I know Dana did too.
Took the stairs.
Did it take a long time?
Super long time.
You walk up 39 flights of fucking stairs.
Isn't it 59?
Or 59.
Oh,
yeah.
my.
Yeah.
You walk up the entire thing.
And you feel and midway through they slow down to a crawl because they become exhausted. So you're just like
it's
lurching
horrible.
amongst the stairs and Barrett's.
Do you get anything different from going up the stairs?
Nothing.
Nope.
They don't even get the cutscenes that we got.
Fucking Nomura and his fucking cronies play a bit on you and do a prank in the middle of this epic ass game. It is funny though. I would say that like there were some moments on those stairs where like there was like character development happening. Like Barrett's like the one on the like since he's the heaviest one, he's like the one like struggling to catch up. Tifa's just like running out in front of everyone. And they have like a bunch of dialogue is exchanged of how like Barrett's tired and he's trying to like push himself to keep going. And then at one point Cloud joins in with like trying to support him. Oh, it was great. What about you, Dana? Was you texted me right after?
Like I was texting
funny,
you
right?
when it was happening. I'm like, am I really gonna walk up these 59 flights of fucking stairs? And like it was funny. It was funny until about like floor 32, to where it's like you're literally just like lurching up the stairs now. You can't even run anymore. And when you get up to the front,
hilarious. I didn't think they would actually make you go up them all. I honestly thought they were just joking about you going up the stairs. I didn't even try to go.
Yo, that's what I thought too. Like once we start hitting 20, I'm like, okay, there's gonna be a cutscene, or we're gonna do a time jump, and then you hit 20, then you hit 25, and then you're like, oh fuck, like okay, they're really stretching this one out. Like, when's the other shoe gonna drop? And then once you're like, yeah, what Dana said, like 40, you're just like, oh, we're fucking doing all these stairs, and you feel
that's hilarious.
You feel just like Barrett. But it's crazy. I went back and watched the elevator scene, and I was like, oh wow, that would have taken a lot less time. It's like 2 cutscenes and like one and a couple fights, and that's it. That was insane. I mean, that's kind of the quirk of this game. There's like a bunch of stuff like that.
The whole part in Shinra was just weird to me though, because it takes you out of the game just a little bit, because like they're walking around with these big fucking swords and guns, and nobody thinks this is weird that a giant black guy with a gun arm is just wandering around the boardroom, like in the break room. Like some Shinra guy's just eating his fucking Midgar special sandwich, and then Barrett's just, hey, but that's not weird to you? Like nobody's pushing an alarm or something, or
I know Tifa was in the men's bathroom being like, I don't like being here. I'm like, Tifa, this is the thing that's like wrong to you. This is the thing you've been hanging out with Barrett this whole time in the belly of the beast. Literally, that's what the chapter's called.
Like just nobody notices anything. And I'm just like, these Shinra people must be real busy.
Yeah,
they're like we see monsters for a living. The mayor of the
Oh yeah, they do
kingdom.
see monsters. I guess
That's
some guy
no
with a gun
problem.
arm. Isn't that weird?
yeah, they did. I guess for the camera wise, they did kind of explain it away when they made the mayor they had that twist where the mayor was part of Avalanche, which I thought was a fun twist. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then
the Monopoly man. The
mayor is the best.
he lives in like Dana's favorite room.
Right, just the library, the books. I appreciated the difference though between the original and this one. Whereas in the original, he just wanted revenge on Shinra, but in this one they actually make him a Avalanche sympathizer and a member of the cause and stuff like that. So I thought that was a cool change that they applied to the mayor's character.
Kind of wish they did that in Rise of Skywalker with Donald Gleason, right? We won't get into that. All right, guys, let's start wrapping it up. Is there anything else that you guys really want to get into? Did we miss anything, Moody? Have we hit I mean, there's like so much of this game that we could talk about forever. Luckily, there's going to be like 12 more installments. I don't know.
I'm
playing on PS6.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
I think they can get it done in 2 more games.
Oh, really?
That's wishful thinking. I think it can be done in 2, but I don't know. Maybe 2 or 3. It doesn't need any more than that.
I mean, they didn't necessarily say they wanted to beef up everything in the game. They just specifically wanted to beef up Midgar. So we've done that. So maybe we'll keep on a similar pace, but who knows? Moody, what's your final thoughts about this game? And what's your Bible score, sir? Let's do this.
Oh, you didn't forget. Man. So emotionally and aesthetically, it's a 10. Okay. It's a 5 out of 5. But I have to acknowledge that there are a lot of issues in the game that didn't affect me personally. And I understand how, and I'm not even talking about the padding, but like some of the stuff where characters were just thrown in, and then a lot of the lore was thrown in for a lot of people who, we hadn't talked about this, never played the original, like didn't know who the fuck Crisis Core was. You don't know who Zack is if you don't play in Japanese because there's no subtitles.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like, okay.
That's so crazy.
There are many.
They don't say his name.
There's a lot of things. And I mean, overall the gameplay is great. Sometimes the ATB can be a little frustrating with the camera. I know Michelle said that online. It didn't really, I think it's a great mode. It didn't really weigh down on me, but there are issues that are in the game, but they don't really affect me overall, but I have to acknowledge them. So I will say 4.75 Bibles. It's hard because what's game of the year? Because there's a Persona 5 Royal, which I'm still playing because it's 1,000 hours and I'm still on the last semester, but I love that this was more contained and this was 53 hours and I will put it number 1. So 4.75 Bibles. It is my game of the year so far. So we'll see what happens with Ghost of Tsushima comes out, which we just saw some of this week, and it looks amazing.
Cyberpunk also.
So yeah, obviously we can that's the next podcast. Yeah,
Last of Us.
Yeah, it's gonna have some
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 remastered.
Yeah.
I mean, people are sleeping on it, but that might be the top selling game of the year.
Maybe.
I'll just go counterclockwise on my screen. Dana, what are your final thoughts and your Bible score, sir?
My final thoughts, like I said, I loved it from beginning to end. The technical shortcomings weren't enough to dampen my enjoyment of the game. I thought the story was fantastic. I thought it presented the world in a beautiful new way, I guess. One thing with the presentation I did not like was you got the feeling that the backgrounds were just backgrounds. Like I didn't really feel like the Shinra building was back there. I just felt like it was a wallpaper. And so in the part where you're above the below the plate but above the sectors and you're turning the lamps off, if you really look at it, you can see like where some of the edges end of the wallpaper and the other one begins. And it's just, I just felt that's kind of lazy. It's like, you don't really get that sense of you're so far above the rest of the sectors, because they took a shortcut with that. And lining up in front of some of the terminals where you have to press triangle could be an issue sometimes.
Oh my God, it was so annoying. I'm just want to climb the ladder and I can't get on it.
Yeah, that shit sucked. Like, there are issues. They just didn't break the game for me, if that makes sense. So it's not a perfect game. It's not a perfect game. There are issues, but the game is so great in the other aspects that it's almost perfect.
Yeah. At the end of the game, as soon as I finished, I was ready to start back up another playthrough because of how much I love the game and the characters and everything like that. It gets it twice. I finished it twice. I got my character, everybody level 50 and everything else like that. So level 50 is the level cap. I don't know if everyone else got the 50 or not, but I give the same score as Moody. It's a 4.75 for me out of 5.
Nice. Michelle, what about you?
Yeah, I would give it like a 4.5 because the technical issues, the camera was fucking horrible. Like, I was fighting that camera.
Talk about that. Kind of was.
It was, and the funny thing was, so like I was playing for like 10 hours and then I go into the settings and there's like different camera settings where you can have the camera, forward and back. They all suck. I tried all different, like variations of it. It's just the cameras, when you're fighting, sometimes it would just hang on stuff. Like it would hang on an enemy, and then so there'll be all this shit happening and you can't see, and you're like taking damage, and like, I would say 60% of the time the camera was okay, and the other 40% it was absolute just garbage. Like, and other times it would try to, like, you'd be walking but you couldn't turn the camera because it wanted to do a cinematic type of a thing, but there would be no indication that's what it was doing. So you'd be walking and you could rotate it 360 most of the time, and then for some reason it would lock it into an angle, but it would make no sense why it was doing it. Like, and then you realize, oh, it's trying to like make this a cinematic moment, but it was just the camera needs work. Like, hopefully I'm sure they'll fix that in the next one, because I saw a lot of people complaining about it. I mean, it wasn't like game breaking, but it was enough to where it was annoying to me, like, quite a bit. And like you said, the thing where like you were trying to line up, especially it was really apparent during the Hojo lab sequence, because you were constantly activating like levers and trying to switch back and forth between the parties at that terminal. And I was just constantly trying to scoot Cloud around to the, micro pixel they has to fucking be at to do the triangle. It was just those little things. They were working on this game for so long that stuff almost is not excusable to me. And personally,
yeah, that's true.
It's just those little technical issues. And I get that they had a lot of trouble and they had to like scrap it basically and start over. And I get it, but I just hope that they kind of like, cross their T's and dot their I's on the next one, because the rest of it was presented so well. But then there's like these just like issues that like shouldn't be issues, really, like little technical things that you should get that should be play tested out, like being able to line up and activate things that shouldn't be an issue in 2020 on a AAA game, so. But other than like the story, everything else, music, presentation, the battle system itself was just like chef's kiss. So
yeah, 4.5 is a great fucking score. Yeah, I don't have a lot more to add than what you guys said already. In my heart, I like, there's times when this game feels like a straight up masterpiece, like 5 out of 5, 100%. But then, yeah, there's times where like, I didn't mention it before, but like, I think I was 30 hours in until I realized that there was like different escalations to your powers, your magic powers. Like, I was like, oh, fuck, I could do stronger fire attacks. I could do stronger blizzard attacks. Like, why don't you tell me? Like, there's some shit they don't tell you that, like, sucks, because it's like, okay, I get it. Like,
totally forgot that. 100%.
Yeah,
like it took me like 18 hours, and I was like, whoa, wait.
Yeah,
you're
dude.
like, oh, you pushed right. There's more?
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
Totally.
this whole goddamn time, I'm already, like, past Walmart or whatever.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was crazy, dude. But I guess that made me better for the end. But like, it's stuff like that, like just little things. Like, that's such a good point, Michelle. Like, they've had the time to work on this, so it's like that's not an excuse. And it's like, it'd be a shame for me to give this amount, even though like I felt like so happy playing this. It'd be a shame for me to give this a perfect score when like I totally just reminded myself Red Dead Redemption exists, Red Dead 2, and like that was like technically also perfect for the most part, like the way less technical like mistakes and stuff than this game. But that being said, it was still like one of the greatest, like one of the funnest action adventure sci-fi things I've ever seen since Star Wars. Like, parts of it were so charming, and I totally get it now, and I'm on board for Final Fantasy. You definitely get a 4.75 for me, just because of just the highs were so high that like they kind of they can kind of forgive some of the lows. But there's always room to improve, so you can get that 5 Final Fantasy
absolutely
Remake Part 2 or whatever. So yeah.
While I have you guys here, Michelle especially, and Mike as well, and I'm not sure if Dana played this, but do we count Persona 5 Royal in the Game of the Year talk? Like, does that?
I mean, it's a new release.
There's 2 more palaces, right?
One semester, and
I mean that's a lot.
But the game came out.
I counted remasters in like a game that's literally just the same game, but they remastered it, and I put it in Games of the Year before lists.
Like, I understand like Resident Evil remastered because it's been so long, and it's almost
and it's a
different.
Remake from the ground up. Yeah,
this is like we're gonna add shit and re-release it like 4 years later. It's like do we? I don't know. It's almost like counting Street Fighter Championship Edition this year because it has 40 characters and 40 stages instead of 5 characters, but it's still the same.
That's true.
I don't know. I wanted to ask that since I have you experts on, because when we talk,
you could say it's like a caveat, like, oh, it's my Game of the Year, but I understand it's just additional stuff. But this is why I think the additional stuff adds so much value that it's almost like a new release.
Right.
Or you can make it your number 1 honorable mention. You're like, you have all your honorable mentions, but this is like the winner of the honorable mention.
I like that. I'm gonna do that. Because it only took 53 hours. I'm still going with Final Fantasy. I didn't have to spend my entire quarantine on this game.
You played Persona 100 more hours than I did. So it feels like more than just a semester to me. So I don't know. I think there is more in that game. I gotta play it. But...
also, one little weird thing on Final Fantasy VII, when you pause the game, the time freezes. After a minute, it keeps going, and then after like 1 minute, it freezes. In Persona, I'm not gonna lie, I'm under quarantine. I've left that game on for 10 hours straight. So there's why I have 220. Like, there's probably 30 bloated hours of me just leaving my PlayStation on because I have to edit an article for GHG. I have to talk to people because we're in crisis. Like, there's a TV show I want to watch, like Better Call Saul is on, and I forgot to shut it off, like my PlayStation. In Persona 5, the time keeps ticking if the game's on. So maybe it isn't that big of a game. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I feel you. That's like when I fell asleep with my Switch in my hands when I was playing Fire Emblem. So I'm pretty sure my hour count is like not the same for that. But yeah, Dana and Michelle, thanks for coming on. Do you guys have anything you guys want to plug, Michelle? Like, where can people find you?
You can find me. I do most of my writing for spoilerfreemoviesleuth.com. But if you type my name, I'm also like, if you type my name into RottenTomatoes.com, I'm a critic on there, and then you can find all my reviews on there too. They're all in one area.
Sweet.
I don't really write about video games as much as I used to. But I'm like on my Facebook page, I'm always posting about games I'm playing. So I add most people on Facebook unless you're jerk face. So don't add me if you're a jerk face. But if you're not a jerk face, Michelle Kistner, you can add me.
Dana, what about you? You want to plug what book are you reading now?
I'm reading a collection of short stories by Richard Matheson, and then I've got a few other books on my dresser that are waiting to be read.
Wait, remind me again what Richard Matheson has wrote? That sounds like so familiar.
He wrote I Am Legend. He wrote a lot of a few Twilight Zone episodes. He wrote the Terror at 20,000 Feet one.
I Am Legend is the one I was
William
thinking of.
Shatner.
Okay, cool. And people can find you Hat and Wand, right? Twitter?
Hat and Wand on Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, that's it.
And God Hates Geeks. Yeah, you can find me and Moody, GodHatesGeeks.com. The Geekdom Fancast is the feed that you subscribe to get the Geekdom Gamescast. You could also go to Facebook.com and just look for the groups and like type in the Geekdom Gamescast and request an invite. We pretty much invite anyone. We just don't want bots in there or people just spamming. That's why we close the group. But for the most part, anyone that loves video games gets in. I mean, please don't be a jerk face. But for the most part, you'll get in and talk about video games there.
The group is real lively now. We've added like almost 200 people since right before
the last time we freaking talked. Like the last podcast, you said we added 100, and yeah, we added like 200 since then.
It's been another 100. Yeah, it's real active and a good active because we have 4 moderators. We don't let bots in and weirdos and stuff, and yeah, everything's on point. We have to approve topics, and yeah, it's the best video game place because it's not just like, hey, who likes Mario? Like, no weird, like we don't allow weird shit. Like if someone posts a link without the image, we're like, no, there's no garbage there. Like it's great.
Curated.
It's active. Yeah. It's fucking curated, man.
And none of us fucking like Mario. Just kidding.
Dude, somebody add Jake Regal to our Geekdom Gamescast, please. Love that guy. Love you, Jake. Thank you for curating.
And also just go to godhatesgeeks.com for more than video games. We got TVs, comics, movies, those things.
Lots of Star Wars. The whole month of May has been May the 4th. May the May be with you.
May the May be with you.
When you're under quarantine, you write about the thing you love the most. So it's pretty much all Star Wars on there right now. So enjoy it.
All right. Once again, thank you, everyone. Hope everyone's staying safe and, being healthy. Take care of yourselves.
Bye. Sayonara.